What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. This is Famine from Famine Studios. As you can see, we are in the middle of it here today. We've got some mess to make. Speaking of mess, pay no mind to my sweatshirt. It was hot as hell in here, so I quickly changed it to a t-shirt. Drop that over there. The dogs will roll around in it. But yeah, I want to check in with you guys, see how everybody's doing. First and foremost, how are you guys tonight? Let's see who's in the chat. Let's sound off. We got Bjorn, first one to walk in the door. Thank you, Bjorn. Bjorn was the first patron that I had. Always thankful for that. Lord of Thane, Task Force, Toy Domination, Audi, Triple D, Fat Red Foo, and Mickey. You guys are the best patrons. You guys help keep the lights on, help pay for some of these supplies that we got going on here. And Nebula Nexus just walked in the door. Hello, Nebula. We got Red. Says, it has been a day today. Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to get into it, I think, here. Today we're going to be making something called, I've heard it called black magic sauce. Hi, Rosie. Hello, Mama. You know, you want to be the center of attention today. It's Mod Podge. Regular matte Mod Podge. Plain matte black acrylic paint. I have a secret ingredient that I add to mine. You can either use wood glue or you can use some PVA like Eileen's tacky glue or Elmer's glue. I like the tacky glue. I find it dries better and adds a little bit of more gription to the stuff that we're doing. But we're going to get started in mixing that up today. And I got myself a wonderful ball glass jar. Lid and everything. There is no exact formula to mixing this up, right? Some people say, oh, do 20% paint, 80% Mod Podge. Some say 50-50. I tend to go a little heavier on the glue, the Mod Podge, and the glue versus the paint. So it's going to work out to be about, I'd say 50, 40, 10. So we're going to get that made up, and we're also going to add, just for thinner, just to make it spread a little easier, a little bit of pure bottled spring water. I'm sure it comes from a tap, but they say it's bottled water. What are you doing? What are you doing, bud? So we are going to go ahead and get started. Just trying to think of what I'm going to use to stir. I'll use my trusty stirring stick. Let's get a little softer lighting here. I feel like this light makes me... yeah, that'll work. I look a little nicer, a little calmer, a little more serene, maybe a little sensual. Maybe a little sensual. What's going on, Ant? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bjorn, what exact knife did you misplace? You might have meant to say X-Acto, but it could be crazy. Howdy, folks. Playing with my 375. Welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. A lot of patrons coming in tonight. Speaking of, you guys can donate through Ko-Fi to the channel, or you can donate through Super Chats. Thanks if you're watching this over. They have super thanks that you can do that, or you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/FamineStudiosX. Check it out. There is a free tier. Sign up for that. And if you're new to the channel, this is your first time watching, we've been working on this EVA foam project. We've been chipping away at it, quite a few live streams. It's all on the playlist. This video is going to automatically upload to the playlist as soon as this live stream is over. So you'll be able to check out parts 1 through 4 and see how we got to where we are today. So I hope you guys like that. I hope you dig that style. Check it out. Also, this week I put up the first of my, I want to call it a World Makers vlog. The things that I'm doing during the week that benefit this channel, or I've been working on here or there to reset things, to set things up for the channel. Just what's going on if I go somewhere and I have some pickups and I don't necessarily want to do like a whole unboxing and live stream and all that, breaking down the pickups that I've got. So go check that out. You can see some of the stuff I got at a flea market this weekend as well. All right. So let me get you guys set up with the other camera. We'll get these, we'll put these little compies to work, and I'll see you guys in a couple of seconds. All righty. That was way more difficult than it needed to be. All right, guys. So, like I said, we're going to put this together. Let me know if that music's too loud. I think I'm going to change the track because I find that little piano to kind of be like, something that I never want to hear again. So I'm just going to make about, I don't know, 100, shoot, we'll do 200 milliliters of this. So I am using the Mod Podge that I can't get open because I'm not strong enough. There we go. Whew, thought I was going to have to call one of the dogs over. Struggle is real. All right. So we've got our Mod Podge here. So like I said, it's going to be 50, 40, 40, 10. I don't know how to do math. You guys should know that by now. You don't come here for math. You come here for art. Some people could say art is math or math is art, and those people are wrong. You're allowed to have your wrong opinion. This Mod Podge is a little thick. It may be time to consider getting a new one. This is the most I've ever used out of one. So, I mean, if that's the case, if this thing is on its way, it's been a great run. This was a gift from our friends over at Plaid. We are very thankful for complimentary stuff. And this was sent to me pre toy making videos and stuff like that. And this was sent right before the pandemic closed down their shops. So it was great of them to send over these things here. Hey, Nebula, again, we don't need that kind of negativity in here. Mods, keep an eye. All right, and like I said, I'm gonna put a splash of water in there just for viscosity's sake. Give it a stir. Just get that water worked in. Yeah, that's a little thicker than the consistency of whole milk. Probably like half and half, like creamer. Yeah. So now we're going to go with our apple barrel black paint. It's matte acrylic paint. Good bit of that. Almost there. That's good. And the reason that you add paint to this is twofold. One, it's going to help thicken the mixture up. It's going to help add protective properties if it chips, and if the paint on the top coat chips for whatever reason, or you scratch it, the paint that's in there is going to show first on the coating. But also it helps get in all the cracks, nooks, and crannies so you can see where you applied this. If you try and apply Mod Podge straight on, you're going to miss a lot of spots. And then last but not least, tacky glue. Eileen's tacky glue. This is my secret ingredient. This is the thing that I love, that really adds, I think, some good grip, some good adhesion to the whole thing. And that is just a big old, give it the old hard squeeze. Fill that in. And I'd say that's pretty good. A little for the road. Let that drizzle off there. There we go. We'll put some of this stuff away so that we have a clear workstation. Again, that was Eileen's tacky glue, black paint that I got on my hand now. See, this is why we pay attention to what we're doing, kids. Oh, wow, I got that everywhere. So again, Eileen's tacky glue, apple barrel craft paint, and Mod Podge. Both of these are from our friends at Plaid. That's where you want to get those. You can get those at Walmart, or I have a list linked in the description of items that I use for this build. You can check that out. I actually don't even think those are my affiliate links. I literally think that's a wish list that I built to send to somebody so they understood what products I was using, because sometimes I babble and talk a lot. So you guys can check that out and get any of the stuff if you want, or you can write down the items and hit up your local Walmart, Eileen's, Arlene, Joann's, and get yourself some crafting supplies and make your own stuff. And tag me in it on the Instagrams. Take what's on the top and I push it down, scrape the sides, glass jar, which means it'll be easy to clean when this is empty, but it also means we could slip a lid on here and use it later. So we got that. We got that, baby. So set that aside there. And while you're at it, while you guys are here, you guys are doing me a favor. You're like, Famine, we're already here. Some of us are patrons. What more could you want? What more could you want? Just go ahead and hit that like button. See, playing with 375 gets it. Bjorn, don't do that. Oh, we're not using our government names, are we, kids? And do I see Audi? Did I just see Audi walk in? Like I said, speaking of my patrons, Outer Multiverse. Appreciate you, brother. Get that thank you up there on the screen. And here we go again. We're going to bring this up top. And I'm going to work upside down so that you lovely folks, my friends, my viewers, my followers, my patrons, my buddies, my buddy and me, you guys can see what it is I'm up to while I'm working on this. Now, there's a couple of spots. I want to take some of that Eileen's tacky glue real quick and just run a bead and kind of reinforce it. So and actually we can just do it the lazy way. We'll put it on my fingy. Just kind of get it in there. You want to help things stick. Make sure things stay in place. It's okay. A little bit of glue never hurt anybody except for that one guy who died in the glue factory, but we don't talk about him. It was a sticky situation, and, it bound a lot of people together. All right. Another reason that we do this Mod Podge solution, and again, this was taught to me by Black Magic Craft. You should check out his channel. He does a lot of wargaming terrain and miniatures. He has a game called Idols of Torment, miniature game, really cool stuff. Go check that out. But one of the reasons that we use Mod Podge on these builds, especially when you're building with like foam and cardboard, is that you start slapping paint on there or washes, and it's gonna absorb into the cardboard. It might soak into certain parts of foam, certain types of foam. So us coating this in this shell is going to protect it from everything we're going to do to it in the future on this build. Playing with your 375, you can't stick around, you're headed out. Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for stopping in. I know you hit that like button. I know you did. I have a belief. So we're going to start, and we're going to get the inside of the door frame. And we're just going to take care of this first. We're going to take care of putting our lovely sauce on here. It's okay if we drip it on the cutting mat, because I clean that cutting mat at least 2-3 times a week, because I am messy when I paint. I can be very particular, very meticulous when I want to be. But when I'm doing stuff like this, man, sometimes I just get a little paint on stuff. There, Rosie. Silly amount of Rosie. And I like to use a softer brush. I know some people, when they're doing this, they like to use a thicker, more burly bristled brush. I actually don't. I like to use a softer brush because it tends to get into more nooks and crannies. It's a little less resistant when you push it into corners, so you're getting your coating in there. You know it's going to adhere when it dries and hardens up. And like I said, there's cardboard on this build. There's not going to be cardboard on every build, but if you're using MDF, Mod Podge is a fantastic primer so that it doesn't absorb the paint, and then you have to put on multiple coats. You put that Mod Podge on, or you put this black magic sauce on top of there, and it's going to protect it. It's going to prevent it from absorbing paints. You're not going to waste paint putting layer after layer after layer on there, wondering why it keeps showing whatever the material is through. And also it allows you to see what areas are protected and know that you got the whole thing, right? You'll be able to see like, oh man, in this case, we're doing this pink XPS foam. Hey, I can still see some pink there. Let me get in there and fix that. Let me take this mix, get in there with a soft brush and fix that up. Or damn, I clearly missed a spot. Let me get in there like swimwear and resolve that issue. And you can absolutely, I like everything to match uniformly. So I'll go over the greeblies that are on here. That's okay. It's not hurting anything. Again, this will all get painted. Stark Jones, what are you doing? Stark Doug, peace be with you. What are we going to church? And also with you. Okay. Like I said, we're going all over this. Right now I'm just, these pets are bonkers, man. Going all over this, getting in that crack there, letting it build up around things, and the water. Some people, I think I've seen people use Windex, almost like they use in airbrushes, but I find that Windex, because it's got glycerin in it, now that's too much. Like it makes it too runny. So I tend to use filtered water instead of tap water because I don't know what's in the tap water. You know, I put it in my body. I bathe in it, feed it to my pets. But boy, when it comes to my paint, absolutely not. I don't know. I mean, I wash my paintbrushes in regular tap water, so I probably, you know, poison the batch anyway with whatever's in there. Now, I know this isn't very exciting or riveting or fun, but breaking up a bit. I don't want to break up, Bjorn. I thought we would be together and stream for a while. I thought we were going to be together forever. Have you guys seen that video, that meme? Every so often it comes out of that poor young girl. She broke up with her boyfriend or you know, her partner, and she's just having the worst time, right? She's just having the worst time, and she calls and leaves him a voicemail, and every time she gets to like punctuate the sentence, she lets out this like kind of cry, this whine, and she sounds like a whale recording like that. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I don't normally laugh at other people's heartbreaks, but dear Lord, one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And so every once in a while when I'm pretend crying, I'll do the because she does it. And that's where that comes from. That's a little bit of famine lore there. Why famine was like this. And I know I had mentioned, I promise this isn't like sponsored or anything. I'm a fan. I had mentioned Black Magic Craft. He posted a video today of a build he built with bricks, EVA foam bricks, or excuse me, XPS foam bricks, and a foam Halloween skull for a tabletop game as a playboard. And damn it, if that doesn't look cool and has me inspired to make sure that at some point in one of these builds, I use a dinosaur skull, like a super large one. Stark, I use a super large one and make a cool, like, you know, some type of mountain with a building on it or something. And also, I've liked in Guardians of the Galaxy when they go to that town called Nowhere, how it's kind of built in a celestial's head. And they're just using that giant thing's floating corpse as basically a city. And then, you know, not a spoiler if you've seen any commercials for Deadpool or Wolverine, but they have Ant-Man's body. They also did that in Old Man Logan. where Ant-Man or Giant Man, whatever you want to call him at that point, is a huge corpse, and they live inside of his helmet, is like a fortress type situation. And I always thought that type of utilization of giants was cool, and you guys should go check that build out when you're done here. No, Rad doesn't need to now. Famon's got a 3D printer himself. He's got a couple of them, a few of them actually. Famon be setting up a little print farm behind the scenes. It's gonna be in the vlog. So there you go. You got a little sneak peek at part of one of the topics that's there. Is me getting this print studio set up so that I can do my own prints and add some things. But I also like found objects. That's one thing that I could really consider myself. How do I want to phrase this without sounding like I'm boasting? Because I promise I'm to get out of there, buddy. So Snowflake has a litter box in here because she just cannot with the boy. She can't get out there. She can't, he runs up to her. He wants to play. She wants nothing to do with him. So she was using the corner of my room to go to the bathroom, and I finally figured out what was going on. So as soon as I got her own litter box, happy as can be. Now Stark thinks it's a snack bar with kitty crunchies, which I guess we're gonna have to start serving in Gimmick now. Kind of like Zilla has his the dino poop is the main export. Maybe I'll do kitty crunchies as a major export of Gimmick Starport. Snowflake can be the district manager. She's right here. Miss Snowflake. But anyhow, back to what I was saying. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn or being boastful. I promise I'm not. I just feel really confident in my ability to use found items and existing items to make other things or supplement them and make them into cooler stuff that I want. So I may not 3D print dinosaur skulls. I think a lot of my printing stuff is going to be baseline items for things or like head sculpts, things of that nature. I don't know that I'll be printing out entire buildings, but like chunks of things to build stuff. But man, there's just something I think untouchably satisfying for me. Well, that's a weird phrase to say. Extremely satisfying for me that, nothing's really equal to of finding something and then taking the time to convert it into something else or make it a part of something else. So I may go to like a pet store. I know a lot of pet stores are starting to get dinosaur stuff in for aquariums. And like a cool there's opportunity there. But trust me when I say there will be all kinds of neat printed things. Yeah, I'm a dumpster baby. I rummage through the dumpsters. I do go dumpster diving. I buy things that are on clearance or broken. Like, here's a tip for you. You know me, I'm a slut for savings. I'm gonna get demonetized for saying that, I'm sure. If you go to a Target or a Walmart, and you have the time, because that's the thing is they never want to get somebody to help you, and then it's a whole dragged out process. But if you have the time, you find something on the shelf and the package is all smashed up, or it's like a resin thing and it's already broken on the shelf, you go to the customer service counter and you say, hey, this was broken on the shelf here. I sure do want to buy it. However, this is the last one. It's broken. Can you give me anything for, a discount on it? 99% of the time, they're allowed to give you up to 20% off of the item. And usually they just do. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't care. Don't go breaking things or saying like, hey, this is the only one there. And, it's a brand new thing that they just put on the shelf and they know it. But that is something good to know in case you're ever in a circumstance where you're like, man, it's a shame this thing's broken. I would have bought it, or especially if it's something you glue back together. Talk to a manager at the customer service desk. And as I said, they're usually approved to give you like 20% off of that. And they usually do. They're usually just like, all right, whatever. Buddy, what are you doing? These dogs are bonkers tonight, man. Kitty Crunchies. Oh no, we won't do. It'll be with a C. Crunchy with a C. I try and avoid, for obvious reasons, anything with the double alliteration spelling of two K's in a row, because that lends itself to a third thing. And there's always some jackal, always somebody that thinks they're funny that's a troll that adds a third K to the situation, and then it's just uncomfortable for everybody. Now, we did the wood. You guys remember that? Here we go. This way. We did that wood pattern. One of the most important things when you're doing that is to go with the grain first and really get that down in there so that you cannot see the pink anymore. You can do multiple passes. Make sure your brush is nice and saturated. Again, that's why we use a soft brush. And we just get right in there like swimwear and push it in and work it around. And I did see that. Red, what color did you use for your base, your black magic sauce that's not black? What color's your sauce, kid? Huh? What color's your gravy? How you doing? I feel like you guys don't want to stare at the top of my bald head, unless you do, and then you guys can pay me a little extra for that, and that's you know where to tip. The only FAMS, FAMS. Or you go pick up one of those shirts too. Again, designed by my lovely girlfriend. You've seen her in the chat. You've seen her work on my shirts. You've gone to, you guys have seen her stuff, and you should certainly maybe consider buying a Famine Studios, the Famine Hub looking shirt, or the Only Fams FAMS shirt, because it's hilarious. And people are going to look at you twice, and then you get to have a conversation about toys. You're experimenting with a light brown. Nice. Yeah, you can use whatever color. Obviously, I just like shading. I like dry brushing from a dark, so I'll do black here. But I have in the past done burnt sienna or burnt umber, whatever color is handy. But there's just something for me about that black, just the way everything looks before the dry brushing starts to happen. It's a great reveal. And if you guys could hear Miss Azrael in the background, she says hello. Hello. Is my internet glitching? No, it's probably mine. For whatever reason, now when I stream, now that StreamYard has changed owners, for whatever reason, I've been having countless streaming problems with them. So, like I said, if anybody is a streamer that comes by and watches and they have a different streaming service that you have a reference code for or something like that, please feel free to shoot me an email. There's email links all over this page, or you can DM me on Instagram. We can talk, but I'm no longer happy with my services with StreamYard, especially for the price jump and the drop of quality and they've actually taken away benefits that were there for StreamYard. Top of my Neptune blue. Nice. Bjorn, you said you have a mountain man. Is that a character that you're doing for Figtober? Or is this something for your Kreiner Outpost? Am I saying that correctly? Or both. It can be for both. I don't know why it's got to be an either or thing. What are you doing it for, Bjorn? Now, if this were a majorly flat piece, like this ground here, when I get to do that, I'll put more Mod Podge into this mix just because that will help thicken it up, maybe some more glue. But right now, that water is really helping with the viscosity and letting this get in between all these bricks so that it's down in there. Not for Figtober. War Criner Outpost, just the project you've been kicking around for a while. Well, I can't wait to see it if you're going to share it with us. That'll be awesome. Nice. I'd like to, hopefully I'm able to this week. If not, maybe, towards the end of the month, put in an order with Marauders. And I want to order some Craniac Studios stuff, some heads. I want to build up a little bit of a stock for the winter. I think I'm going to do, I know one of my challenges for the month of January, and don't quote me on this, because who knows, I could hit the lottery. But I want to see what I can accomplish for an entire month of January without picking up any toys or any supplies, just using everything that I've got in the house, everything that I've got in my collection, my parts bins and stuff, and see what I can do without spending any money on toys or parts or anything like that for the month of January. Obviously, I'm not going to do that in December because if I'm out Christmas shopping or holiday shopping and there's a sale and I've what time is New Mountain Way on the line? Doggo, Mama Rosie, what are you doing? Why are you guys causing me crime? Why are you guys being delinquents today? You guys were good all day. The second old famine starts doing this, you guys just, let's see what we can get into. He's distracted. Quick. You guys were even good when you were barking at the person that was delivering the mail and then stopped when I got a call at work. That was very nice of you. I didn't have to yell at you or nothing. You guys did it all on your own. Yeah, and like I said, so I want to have a stockpile built up, and also, like, I recognize that January and February are just like time when people don't travel as much. They're home from the holidays. They used up their holiday time to go visit Meemaw for Christmas. That type of stuff. So you guys might be more prone to tune in and just hang out. So having a lot of stuff that I don't have to pick out or wait for. And also, I'm sure as a fellow maker, as a fellow, I guess we'll put it in air quotes, small business, because I do make a little bit of money off of this that I put back into this. I invest it back in the channel. But as a small business, in air quotes, now's the time where the income is really exceptional around the holidays for people. So putting in an order, getting the stuff, number one, I want to beat out people putting holiday orders in. And number two, I want to have the stuff around. So when I do have time off during that holiday break and I have stuff to work on, I'll just be able to chill out with you guys, work on some stuff, and just be a happy kid and not spend money those 2 months or that month. On February, I know I'm going to because, Valentine's Day. Great. February 14th. I don't know. I don't have a calendar. What do I look like? Some kind of guy with a calendar? That was messing up the Wi-Fi. Is that you? Are you messing up the Wi-Fi? Is that because of you? You have a magnetic personality that messes with the Wi-Fi. Crap, I forgot what I was saying. It was probably something witty and charming. Valentine's is your anniversary. That is romantic. That is romantic. Boy, this music is... Yeah, we'll do Smoke Rising. There we go. My anniversary is in February. I do believe it's the 17th. Let me check the old calendar here, because you guys laugh, but it's going to happen to you. Is it? I don't know. It's in my calendar. I'm the worst. And that's, it's like on paper, that's brilliant, right? It's like, yeah, you do your anniversary on Valentine's Day. If you're anything like me, if you get so wrapped up in things, you might actually forget. Hey, come on, dogs. Boy, howdy. You might actually get so wrapped up, like you start thinking like, it's Christmas time's coming up. Christmas is coming up. The office Christmas party. You know what I mean? Like a million things you could be thinking about and completely forget about that one thing. And it's like, that should have been the one thing I was concerned about. If you're anything like me. But also some people have their anniversary on holidays because those holidays really mean a lot to them. That significance of whatever day that is, be it St. Patrick's Day, on somebody's birthday. My best friend Derek, his birthday is like the day after Christmas, which is just I feel so bad. What is going on here? Okay. Go. Now, I will say this. I'll ask you guys, because I have a captive audience. What did you think about the vlog? Did it tickle your fancy? Was that something that you guys will enjoy tuning into? Talk to me. Fill me in. Give me the tea. The kids still saying that? Are we still saying the tea? Hot goss. Is that another one? Asking somebody for the hot goss sounds like you're asking them to give you like either drugs or diarrhea. Like, oh shit, man, I got that hot goss, Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You take an Imodium? Oh man, we were gonna go out to dinner with our friends, but then Timmy got the hot goss and he was, just blowing up the bathroom. So we decided to stay home and take care of him, get some water into him. Thought it was food poisoning, just turned out to be hot goss. Okay, I'll watch anything you put out. Well, thank you, Bjorn. I did, and thank you, Red. Again, and that's one of the things I like about this community, especially the 118 world building community, is I've said it before. Sure, you'll get the occasional person who's like, "Ooh, you're stupid. You didn't know that was fucking blimpo blah 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 blah. Who wears the red hat instead of the green hat?" But like, people largely just want to let you know information if you're wrong, and not in like a crappy way, like I just said, but just like, hey, you mentioned you didn't know what that was. That's actually probably X, Y, and Z. And it's from this line, and they go for pretty cheap, or that's a rarity that you have there. That's actually da-da-da-da-da. So that's appreciated, and I love that about this community. So it's I'm glad to hear those positive pieces of feedback. I don't know how much traveling I'll be doing this winter, but I will try and make sure that I bring my my DJI with me and get some nice footage while we're out. If I go to come across any old toy stores or anything like that, they won't be strictly like toy hunt videos. I've just learned that I'm not a big toy hunt video guy. I tried doing them early on in my YouTube career when I was mainly doing cosplay stuff on here anyway, and just a lot of toy hunters, their videos made me uncomfortable with how they behave in stores and stuff like that. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to add to that ceiling. So I, if I take my camera out, I ask first, be like, is it okay if I film a little bit in here? If they say, yeah, absolutely, cool. If they say no, I just leave it away. Especially in those smaller places. I like to be very considerate when I can. Lippo actually wore a beige hat. Oh, okay, he wore the beige hat. Yeah, so that's what happened. I guess I can tell that story here, because again, captive audience. In the video, I had mentioned that I had a weird encounter, or maybe I didn't mention it. I didn't mention it. So I had a weird encounter at one of the booths. This guy had a bunch of like junk, and it was junk. Some people say like, oh, one person's trash, another person's trash. Like some of this stuff was actual junk, like just old paper signs that were ripped in half and just kind of folded together. And he's like, oh, it's an antique. Well, he had a bunch of Star Wars stuff in a little case. Now that should have been my first clue that, maybe he didn't know what he was talking about. And it was all Clone Wars stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me look through this stuff, because, man, while some of the figures are limited in their articulation, it'd be nice to have them for parts that I could bash them with normal figures, more cinematic style figures. And first one I picked up, it said Captain Rex, ARC Trooper, and the guy wanted $60 for it. And it was not Captain Rex. It was one of the clone commanders. It was a red one. And I said to the one dude that was sitting there, I said, oh man, this looks like you got this one mislabeled. That's not Rex. Rex wears blue. Now, this is where everything just got really weird for me, and it became not an uncomfortable situation, but it easily could have escalated into me telling somebody to STFU and tell them what I thought of them. But the guy was like, yeah, Bill, what'd I tell you? See, that's what I've been trying to say. Alpha's blue. Alpha's blue, Bill. Bill, I tried telling you Alpha's blue. And this dude, Bill, apparently is the guy that was running the booth. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's this old guy. The guy's like, this guy's telling me. He's like, I told you, Alpha's blue. He's like, oh, is that so? Alpha's blue. Now, I know that for a fact. I know that Alpha is the blue ARC Trooper from the Clone Wars. I know exactly which pack that he came from. And I was like, yeah, if you had that figure, that would be worth the price that you're asking. However, this guy isn't that. He might be worth more money or less money, but he's not the guy that you got on the label. That's all I was trying to, do, because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. And listen, at a different table, I had a similar encounter where it was like, oh man, you got the wrong sticker on this guy, and the guy was like, oh really? And I was like, yeah, here, check it out. And I pulled out my phone and I was able to show him, and he was like, oh, here. He's like, he got a Sharpie out and changed the sticker. He's like, thank you. And he pulled up the eBay prices. So that's all. Like trying to make it a comedic bit where, hey Timbo, how's it going? He tried to make it a comedic bit where he's like, yeah, Bill, I told you, blah, 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 kind of making fun of the fact that I knew this. And I just got so annoyed, but I was looking at the other prices of the figures, and he had like, figures that were maybe $20 figures with the package still on them and stuff, like listed for $50, $60. And I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. And so I just walked away because the guy just kept going about the thing. He's like, yeah, he's supposed to be blue. Come on, alpha, he's supposed to be. So it was like a whole thing where I was just like, man, I don't need this. But I would have gladly, like, if the stuff was reasonably priced, or he had a price up for the lot of it, I might have considered getting some of that stuff. But just the whole experience left a bad taste in my mouth. And it's like, you're selling at a flea market. That's the number one thing I think a lot of flea markets here in New York lose sight of. And also this one, a lot of people come up from New York City. So that's part of the pricing thing, is like people from places where things are normally expensive have no problem paying for things that are priced expensively because they don't know any better, or they don't think that's unreasonable. That's not a knock. It's not a knock on anyone. It's just, if you're used to paying, you go out to dinner and you're used to paying at least $40 a plate, and you come out to a restaurant here in upstate New York and you pay $40 for a burger, you might be like, well, oh, that's fair. Or even $30 a burger. Okay, that's fair. That's close to what I pay back home. But to us, we're like, God damn, that's an expensive burger. And they go, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. But those people will pay, and so they cater to that market. So I'm sure that a lot of that stuff was priced that, number one, he was hoping that one collector would come by and be like, oh, I got to have these. Oh, you only want $75 for this, loose in a bag figure of Cad Bane from the Clone Wars? Okay, I'll gladly take that. Meanwhile, I came across 3 of them loose in bins in other booths at the flea market. Even though I've got a bunch of them, I saw them and I was like, if I didn't have them, I'd pick him up. So it was a fascinating experience, and it wasn't propaganda that people were wearing and extra loudly about and selling. And I get it's free country, it's free speech, yada, yada, yada. These things are all true. However, it does not need to permeate every wake and damn second of whatever it is you're doing. And so some of the booths I walked into, saw the stuff, and I turned around and walked out. Or I'd walk into the booth and then someone in whatever candidate's hat, shirt, buttons, thing that they were wearing, Orange Cheeto Man is best merchandise, would come up and try talking or mention something political. And it's like, bro, we're here to buy like Pyrex dinnerware, from the 60s at flea market prices. Like, it's a flea market. Come on. But them's the ropes these days. So we got out of there kind of early compared to the last time we were there. I think we spent about twice as long the last time we were there, and it was less in your face. I think it's just because the election's coming up. Everybody's trying to get their voices out. Well, that's good, Bjorn. I appreciate, I don't know that I'll ever get out to Chucky's. I sure would like to. But, as a consumer who's buying used things, I appreciate hearing that things are priced fairly. Like, I go to Toying Around in Johnstown, New York, and I always tell people, go to Toying Around, Johnstown, New York. It is the best toy store that I can go to. It is my favorite. toy store that I go to. The owner, Vin, is somebody that I consider a friend. However, like I was saying, I was a customer first at Toying Around. Then I became friends with Vin. He gave me opportunities as a cosplayer that I never thought I would get because, listen, this isn't me being some incel loser that's carrying on. It is much easier with the current state of the cosplay community and also marketing to be a pretty girl and get a gig hosting or appearing or working a table or whatever in cosplay. That's just the way it is, and that's not unfair. There's plenty of things in the world that are dominated by guys where women really don't stand a chance. So the fact that girls might get picked quicker for a cosplay thing or a hosting gig or whatever than a dude. But, Vin saw the appreciation of my craft. He saw the work that I put in, gave me my first cosplay gig, and I have been a loyal customer, and he is extremely fair. I've sold some collections there. I've spent some stupid money there on things, but everything that he sells is good quality. If it's not good quality, if it's something that's broken or missing pieces or whatever, he's upfront. His prices are extremely fair. He's in a town that my family, I grew up in going to visit my great grandmother. It's quite literally on the same street that she used to live on. So I have an attachment to that town, but just to know that there's good people and good stores out there other than that one, like hearing about Chucky's. And, I've heard about how you guys do outside sales and things like that. And it's great for the community, and that's great for business and used toy stores, like that. Because truth be told, the plastic doesn't necessarily get cheaper anymore. I think we will eventually see within the next couple of years, and I know some people are like, Famine, you're out of your mind, which I very may well be, but I think we're going to see prices on figures in retail go down, but I don't know that used figures or secondhand figures or people selling collections and things like that, I don't think we're going to see the same fair pricing that we used to get. In some regions, maybe they never got the fair pricing, but I do recall within the past 4 or 5 years being able to go to a flea market or a used toy store and pull 10 figures out of a bucket for $1 each, or, go to a yard sale and pay $1 for 5 Star Wars figures just because they want to get rid of stuff. But now everybody is, I don't know if it's financial struggle. I don't know if it's, just that capitalist, well, damn, I could retire on these Star Wars things. Star Wars is popular, or, whatever is popular, if it's that type of mentality. But people are asking for prices for things that should be, by all means, considered secondhand, lower quality, etc. They're asking full retail prices or higher or way above market value because everybody thinks they have something and that their thing is that one item that they're going to be able to retire on. And I don't think that that's going to change, but I do think at the market, as far as figures go, I think we're going to see the price of TVC maybe drop down to $14.99 again. I think it's going to go down from $16.99. Hey, what's going on, brother? Ramon, how you doing, man? Yeah, and I think Legends, and I think that G.I. Joe Classified. Now, I'm not a guy that does the 6-inch anymore, but I've seen those figures kind of top out, except for the deluxes, at that price point of $26.99, and I think that's where they're going to sit for a while. I can't imagine that Hasbro can afford to roll the dice again and say, hey, all these figures are going to go up another buck price, and they're going to play with that market for a while. But I do think we're going to see TVC either go down a little or stay fairly consistent on the prices. And I think we're going to see less deluxe pricing on things that should not be deluxe. There's a lot of talking, and people that are in those positions are hearing it. I know, going to do a little bit of bragging here, but I know a couple of people who know a couple of people, and some of these businesses are listening to consumers and are seeing like, hey, the job market is not spectacular, you know, this, that, or the third. Now, if I couldn't afford toys, which there are some weeks when I can't, some months when I can't, and that's fine, but I could stop buying them. I've got yeah, what are those? You got all the 6-inch stuff, my brother. But like, if I get toys, okay, it's whatever. You know, it's not like groceries or something like that. But also, if you want to keep your business going, you want to keep money coming in for those items, you want to make sure that everybody can purchase them and not just, you know, exclusive collectors, because then you're producing less, you're getting less money back from the product. So I think, and let's cross our fingers and, you know, whatever else we need to cross to make sure that happens. And we need to be vocal and respectful. I think that's one thing that some of the community has forgotten, is that when they get in these live streams, there are people that see these chats, these you know, these hateful and stupid things that you guys say, not you guys, but people that are saying in these chats when they do these live product reveals and stuff, is absolutely bonkers to me, that people just have the stones to say that out loud and in public. You know, have a little respect, get your opinion out there. Absolutely. That's what that platform is there for. Like, man, you know, it's completely cool to be like, geez, this is another deluxe figure where it's the same items that, you know, this other figure has, but you're going to call it deluxe. Why is that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, absolutely say that. But, or, you know, hey man, you guys are going to $29.99. I think I'm going to have to cut down on my figure purchases now because I can't afford to keep up with classified. You know, the price, I see that with Marvel Legends for some people, where they're getting these deluxe figures, and it's like, yeah, you get your deluxe figure for $60 on the shelf, but you used to be able to get a Build-A-Figure, and if you bought the whole wave, which most of these people still do, you got that figure, and now you're paying separately, and you're paying more per figure and not getting extra stuff. So people bring that up in the live streams. Again, that's smart. That's respectful. That's something that you do when you're, yeah, there's no filter, Timbo. That's absolutely right. It's like when you want a consumer to take what you're saying seriously, remember that you're not chopping it up with your buddies, you know, in a podcast or in a stream or on a private phone call. Be mad, be concerned, but, you know, speak like you're going to influence the situation. Like, actually communicate with words and not just your feelings of, hey, it's real tough for me to buy these deluxe figures. You know, it's really tough for us to go out and buy these deluxe figures when we're paying more for the figures. We're still buying the whole wave, but we're not getting that extra thing now. Where's the extra value? What's my incentive to go out and buy this deluxe figure other than you put it in a different package and this is the only way I can get it? You know, where's my incentive to rush out and buy this at retail when you guys are seeing more of these figures making their way to Ollie's? I went to Ollie's the other day to get my grandmother a word search book because she likes doing word searches and crossword puzzles. And there were so many of those MODOK. What was this? Was it the San Diego Comic-Con one that had him in the gold case with the sunglasses and the Elvis kit and all that other stuff? They had a ton of them. I don't know if it was a HasLab or whatever, but boy, they were swimming in them. And I was like, well, that's strange. because you don't normally see that type of thing there, but it was only $20. And I'm like, all right, I remember this bad boy being like $60. People, couldn't get them when they tried to order them online. And now they're all winding up in clearance at Ollie's. And it's the point now where it's kind of like a running gag in certain podcasts and shows where people will go, I'll just wait until these figures wind up at Ollie's and I'll pay $10 for them, because they're just to that price when they know it's going to go on clearance. So where, talk to the sellers and be like, yeah, again, these are getting kind of out of hand, guys. This is getting too expensive of a hobby. I might dial back on my purchases because the value is not there anymore. Say that. That's going to make more sense to a company. You would hope. I can't make Hasbro do anything, but I can certainly point these things out that I observe. But it's like you say these things to a company and they may listen, or they may at least take it into a slight consideration of, yeah, wow, these people said a thing. And, that makes sense. Like, holy cow, these people are, they're bringing up some valid points. Like, yeah, it's cool that we're doing the HasLab for them, or we're not doing a HasLab this year. But again, our figures are what most people buy. HasLab's got a different market. And that's like, for me, and I this is where I disagree with some people. I think if you buy a couple of, say, we'll go with the Razor Crest as my example. Let's say I bought 3 Razor Crests when it was out, and I've waited, and now I see it in a commercial, and they're, doing something retro with The Mandalorian or something like that, and I'm like, okay, time to sell is now. And I go out there and I sell that Razor Crest for $1,000. I think that's fair, and way less scalping than me going to Target and buying up the. You went to the store and you took away the thing that I was going to buy, and that stinks. But I can also wait and get that. Whereas the other thing, it was a limited purchase. You had the opportunity to get it. Maybe you didn't then, but now you have the opportunity to do it. And if somebody's selling it at a higher price, it's because the thing has only gone up in value because of its limited nature. So I think that, and that's one of those things where it's the HasLabs fund pretty well because these things are made as a limited nature and people can't get them like that. Whew. I would have bought that Razor. That's the only thing I would have bought that weekend at Joe Fest. I did see one that was just the crest without the figures for $700, but no. I wasn't about to pay that price for that, but I get it. People can sell those, and I think that the HasLab is a completely different market. I don't think it's indicative of the collecting market itself, because it's kind of like sneakers. Some people just buy them to have the thing in the box on the shelf and use it as an investment, or they know that they'll be able to sell it at a higher rate. And so I think that's a completely different ball game than, say, man, when G.I. Joe Classified and Cobra Island and all those things first came out, you couldn't get those damn things at the store, and they weren't in stock. And then people were scalping them because they could find them. They literally had inside people at like, sheesh. Yeah, that would have been the one thing I bought. It's like, Famine, why do you look so weak and shaky? Oh, because I'm not eating this trip. Why not? I spent all my money on the Razor Crest, so I've been drinking hotel water. Actually canceled the rest of my reservation, and I'm sleeping in my car. But versus, figures again out there, if they came out and said, oh, the vintage collection is going to be at a new price point, I would have to start reconsidering what things I'm buying. If they came out and said, hey, the deluxe figures are going up in price, I'd have to reconsider what I purchased from the deluxe line. But if they said, hey, these are going up a couple of dollars, but we're also giving you guys this much more, or access to this, like build a figure, if they were increasing the value of the thing that we're purchasing while the price goes up, wouldn't be an issue. But if they continue to do this, like, it's absolutely fair for collectors to say to, these people in the live streams that are running these groups that are in charge of the franchises and stuff that do their marketing of, hey, you're asking too much money for too little product. We're going to spend less money until you figure it out and add the value, or you lower the price to meet the value. I know it's asking a lot. Yeah, I remember the Build-A-Droid sets. Those were great, where you get the parts for the droids because you didn't necessarily have to build a C-3PO or whatever. You could get your arms and legs and build your own droid. Like, that was great. That was a fantastic thing for collectors, I thought. Whether or not it actually was, I don't know if it was successful or unsuccessful, but I just remember being excited to get those pieces. I do remember a couple of times while I was at Walmart finding open figures where somebody had, pilfered the parts out of the box, which sucked. People always got to ruin something, but at the same time, it was like, cool, I'll get a droid part, and for now, I'll just put them. I had on that end of my room going that way, which was in my old MTV video. You can actually see it as a backdrop when they had me on MTV. I had a little junkyard, in quotes, and like the fall apart battle droid, if I wasn't using it, I'd have him knocked down. I had Build-A-Droid parts that I had pieces for, but didn't have the bodies and stuff. The 3PO that comes in Chewie's backpack, I had a couple of those. And I just had a little like junkyard full of droid parts, and that was great for world building. I didn't have to build a droid with it. I had the pieces, and if I wanted to, when I got, enough of the stuff, that encouraged me to like, oh, I know that these figures come with the torso normally. Let me pick up a couple of these cloud car pilots because I can use the torsos and I'll have these figures. Like, there was incentive there in something as simple as just including a pop-in droid piece. Yeah, the droids were great, and I need to get the HK-47. That's something I got to do. Missed the era where Hasbro was making vehicles, Power of the Force. So yeah, the land speeders and things like that, those were great. Even the Clone Wars vehicles, re-release some of those. I'd absolutely be down for some like Clone Wars Adventure line vehicles. I did see, I will say this, they kind of hit it out of the park with that 4-inch Naboo Starfighter that Mandalorian rocks up in. It's the perfect playability. No, Bjorn, I do not. I do not have an HK-47. It's the perfect playability. It's the good, that good plastic for play and painting. There's detail in the sculpt, so it's not just a chunk of plastic. The only thing that stinks is you get those extra figures that are, 5 POA that don't move. But like I got at the flea market, I got this guy right here. The Clone Wars, it's, a swoop bike kind of for Hoth, I think it was. They were on Hoth. I thought that was really cool. And I was like, okay, neat. Like, picked it up, couple of dollars. That's fantastic. And really happy to have that in my collection. Like, release that you could, and I'm not telling Hasbro what to do, and I'm not trying to say prices, but with the cockpit and a figure, even if it's a 5 POA figure in the same scale, you could sell that for $25, call it a deluxe, maybe even 30 if it's a good figure, and people would buy it. I'd be happy to buy that. I'd probably get 2. But what do I know? I'm just the consumer. I think that's there though, and that's the flip side too. Is does Hasbro finally acknowledge that as a toy company? Because I think this is where they might be kind of stuck in the mud. And again, what do I know? I'm just a guy with a YouTube show who talks a lot. Do they acknowledge that kids aren't buying these figures? It's their parents buying the figures. And it's collectors of a certain age who are older that are purchasing these figures and start including accessories and world building stuff. Like I see more and more sets, play sets, and I'm loving that. I think that, yeah, I got my HISS tanks on clearance, and then they went back up to retail price, and then they went down on clearance again, and I got another one, and then they went back up to retail price, and then they went on clearance. I got 3 of those suckers. Excuse me. But are they going to acknowledge that it's grown-up people buying it and include things, you know, like the drink sets and stuff like that? Like, those were really cool to see those included with Jabba and those types of play sets, because I can't imagine, even when I was a kid, when I was 13, 14, and 15, I wanted more accessories with my stuff, and we were getting them in the Power of the Force line and the Saga stuff, and that was all cool. But if I were younger, I don't think I'd be like, man, sure do wish that this came with you know, some more drinking vessels. I'd want like another blaster or something. But I, you know, as somebody who was getting the toy for Christmas or buying the toy himself with saved up money, I was hoping for more for my value, and also recognize that I would be taking care of these things. And I don't necessarily think that Hasbro wants to admit, as a toy company, that part of their primary market for Star Wars isn't. Who knows? I can turn the space heater off before I pass out. Yeah, it's hot. Okay, it's hot. I'm gonna shut that off for a few minutes, dogs. Open the window. Hi, Snowflake. You're in a box. World building accessories. Yeah, those packs were cool too. When episode 1 was out, and you could get those, the poncho and the droid and a bunch of other stuff in them, and they were only $10.99. Now I'm sure that would translate to about a $20 price point these days because of inflation and, you know, price raising all around. But like, that's reasonable to get that item. And those were cool. And I actually see more regular figures floating around than I do of those sets, which to me, that tells me that those sets sold pretty good. And throwbacks, kind of like what Mattel is doing with the Jurassic stuff, where they're doing an entire line based on the retro toys with modern tech and modern figures and modern sculpts. You could totally do that with the Star Wars stuff. You could have a poncho. You could, you know, produce that same droid, and people would buy it because those droids were pretty well, you know, created when they came out. There's opportunity there for making money. Personally, I don't get the not wanting to make money thing, but I'm not in the business. I don't have the rights to Star Wars. I don't have any sway other than my wallet. And so, you know, I try and communicate that to these companies when I say, hey, these things are expensive. When I've had the opportunity to speak to somebody who worked for Hasbro or worked in the marketing department of these toy lines, I've made a point to mention, like, people want to give you money for things, but you guys sometimes make it hard. Get out of there. God damn, these dogs. You're making it hard for us to give you money. Love to give you some money for the things that we want. And instead you reproduce this, or you pack that up again, or you push this out. Like, it makes it tough. In case anybody's curious, I'm getting the interior of that gap, that hallway that we made on the back side of the walls that I just painted with this black magic sauce. This stuff is going to ruggedize the foam because it's going to harden up. It's going to create a shell over everything. And then that lets us do all our painting, our dry brushing, our washes, like I said. all over this and not have to worry about it scratching. And if something, a figure does tip over or whatever, or I'm playing with it, like the 5-year-old man that I am, and I'm a little too rough on the ground, guess what? It's going to hold up. It's not going to chip. It's not going to, go through to the foam. And if it does chip the paint for whatever reason, I've still got this nice dark undercoating that we put on of protection there. So that's what I'm doing now. What you doing, Rosie? Hi, Stark. Oh, Rosie, you got a cat hair on your nose. You're so silly. Hello, Stark. You're so handsome. And that's why, Bjorn, I think companies like Marauders, I wish that they would dance around certain IPs a little more. 12 energy cannon instead of an E11 web cannon. You know what I mean? Like, let's have that very similar thing. Like, if companies aren't out there producing it, let's have a tabletop phone that looks an awful lot like a mouse droid. Let's have that for our world building sets, Marauders. Sell me that, I'll buy that. Same goes for like if they were to say do some jumpsuits in a Vietnam line, and then make those jumpsuits available. Well, unlicensed nuclear reactor backpacks would look really cool with those. I think they would look really cool with those, and I bet people would want to pick up those unlicensed nuclear reactor toy pieces for those guys with jumpsuits. And I mean, you're doing war stuff, so you already produced the Alice frame for it, right? So you could have, Alice frame sci-fi backpack, or whatever you wanted to call it. Just saying, just pointing out opportunities for money. That's all I'm doing. I'm just telling people ways that people would want to spend money. This is free. I'm not even charging for the consultation. If you want to send me one to prototype it or test it out, absolutely. I'd absolutely do that for you, no charge. Be more than happy to take a look at it and let you know what I thought. But there's opportunity there to make money, easy money, fun money, Get that rebel spirit back up of like, here's this thing that we're producing that's totally not this. It's totally not Charlie Sheen. It's totally not, hit those sci-fi markets. There's certain blasters from a certain franchise that Ridley Scott ran that I'd love to have from Marauders. Be great if they had something, from that movie. What's that? About the guy that runs with knives. Was that movie called Bullet Franchises? One of those franchises being that Ridley Scott property that doesn't have a proper toy line and no real marketing other than retro figures, really hideous looking retro figures. I don't normally dog on toy companies' products, but that one set of Blade Runner figures that's out now or coming out that they've been promoting is just, it hurts the eyes to look at. It's not good. And I know that's the style of the figures, but geez Louise, not for me. But hey, that gun, Deckard's blaster, I know they have pulse rifles. I got a bunch of those. But like Deckard's blaster from Blade Runner would be a great one. Starship Troopers rifles, those would be great. And also with Deckard's, you could push that into the Fallout thing, because that's literally Deckard's gun is in Fallout and it's called that gun. And it's like a whole gag of like, oh, that's really familiar, that gun there. And since the year that Fallout takes place is in the future, it's funny. And so you could say, yeah, this totally sci-fi figurine that carries this thing is from Fallout, this Fallout gun, or, this Wasteland inspired weapon. Yeah, I'd lose my I'd lose my mind for some really nice Blade Runner figures. A nice Rutger Hauer figure. Can't tell me I wouldn't. No. And then give me him shirtless and with his tattoo, his battle plan tattooed on his body, holding a dove. Give me the dove as an accessory. Call it the Tears and Rain edition. See, this is just off the top of my head. And in case anybody's wondering what I'm doing, like I said, I'm painting the interior of here. That way, if anybody looks in or I set up some shots, this will be dark. I'll probably do some gray or tan on the inside just to keep it kind of in world in case the camera gets in there or picks it up in the background. It's not, very clearly pink foam insulation. Not that I'd care, and I could edit it in post, as the kids say, but I don't want to edit in post, so I'm just going to go ahead and give this a coating of the same protection that the rest of it has so that it's uniform and it doesn't give me any problems later down the line. Especially if I do some weird washes or whatever, because you know me. You guys have been following me for long enough, unless you're new here, and then welcome. You guys have been following me long enough, is I'll do the same thing that I say I'm going to do about 90% of the time, and then there's that 10% where I just go wild, and I'm like, my plan's changed, here's what we're doing. There's some third-party, there's some third-party companies that have a good Deckard head sculpt. There is in that Cops and Crooks line what appears to be a Blade Runner torso at the very least, with the square necktie and everything and the coat. I want to take a closer look and consider, see what they've got there, but imagine having an Indy, a Han, and a Deckard in your display. I think that'd be just super damn cool. And hell, you don't even need to call it Blade Runner. You could call it like the noir detective, or the reluctant, detective, or what, you know what I mean? Just come up with something clever, a play on that. You skirt the IP, these companies aren't doing anything with it proper. Harrison Ford is certainly not hurting for money. Razor Walker. There you go. There's opportunity there. But just like, world building stuff, you could quite literally, you want to see world builders lose their minds? 3D print the tiles, or rather produce a modular wall made of the tiles from Deckard's apartment in Blade Runner for world building. The right people would lose their minds and spend their money on it. Do a limited run, cast it in that gray color, sell it by the sheet, people would buy it. And somebody might come along and go, Famine, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you? Why do I got to do everything? Why do I got to work a 9 to 5? Random commenter, right? And then I put dinner on the table and I clean everything up. And then I come on here and entertain you. And this is what you want to know why I'm not doing more? I'm just messing with you. But yeah, opportunity there. No, those aren't Kurt Russell characters. Those are Kurt Russell characters. I want to do I want to get a dime novel figure and make Wyatt, but do Kurt Russell's Wyatt. Because I love Tombstone. It's my favorite Western. And I think Craniac Studios has that head sculpt, and they also have Doc Holliday. I do believe they also have Sam Elliott too, Virgil. So Michael Biehn. There's a bunch of those, but yeah, like there's independent makers that make those head sculpts. But boy, howdy, would it be great to be able to have those figures and just pick them up, or I don't know. I just work here, man. I just work here. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. This is where we're like packing in the getting this coating on here to protect everything, and I'm gonna lay this coating real thick on the roof. I'll probably reinforce it with a strip of like furring back here, this area, just so that it stays kind of rigid the right way. But I want figures to be able to stand up here for shots from behind the sign and whatnot. So I'll probably put a couple more coats on after the stream, during my work day when I'm, not super slammed. Just grab some of this stuff. That's why we made the jar, so we could take some when we need it and have it for future use on this project. But just lay a few layers on there, really build up that protection and strength so that we can play with our play set. I know guys like Chris Shaler and other makers say, hey, stay away from foam, only use wood or only use plastic, resin, and all those things. But I absolutely think if people can play tabletop games on foam, right? People can play tabletop games and their foam play sets last forever and they're taken care of, and people, war game on them and get mad and toss their pieces and stuff like that, roll dice on them and stuff. They could do that on foam. I think we can pose our action figures and set them up there and have fun with them. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Craniac. I do get a lot of my head sculpts from Spartan 118. I think Spartan does a tremendous job on head sculpts, but I would like to give Craniac some coin and see what they've got. Do a little comparison for my own thoughts, my own safety. That's not the word. My own sanity, just to see how they stack up and have a variety of heads from different makers, man. That's the great thing about the art community in toy collecting, is there are people making accessories and there's people making the same thing, and this person may have sculpted it a little bit differently, or this person, Timbo gets it, so it's not like we're drop kicking our shit down the street. We're adults. We know how to take care of our things. I just wouldn't put a bowling ball on top of it. That's me personally. I'm sure you could engineer with the XPS foam to hold up things, and I'm sure this would hold. I'm not going to lie to you, I could probably stand on this with 1 foot and it would hold up for a certain amount of time before it collapsed. That's how rigid the foam is and the load bearing is on this. But also, I don't need to do that. I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to be tossing it down the street. You know, if my nephews come and play with it, I may say, hey guys, you know, be careful. It's, you know, it is something you need to be a little gentler on, so don't slam on it, but I'm not going to fret because it's foam. And this protective coating before we even paint it, and then we're going to coat it afterwards. Like, hell yeah. Like, we're doing everything right at this point to protect this and make this as rugged, and it's cheap. You know, that whole container of Mod Podge is $10 there, and that thing has lasted me years. So you got your container of Mod Podge. It's $10. Your black apple barrel paint is still $2 for that size. And your glue, your Elmer's. You could use Elmer's glue instead of tacky glue if you wanted to. Elmer's glue is still $1.25 at the dollar store. Just regular craft glue from the store. Boom. That's, you know, and you're going to make countless coatings with this. You're going to have so much of it. And you also can use your Mod Podge for other things. And you can also use your black paint for black paint. Not everything's got to be derivative. But yeah, I think that that's really cool. And also, here's another fun tip about when you coat this with the Mod Podge and the Black Magic sauce. You make sure that you coat the whole thing and you do a good job. You can spray paint on it, and the accelerant the propellant that's inside of the spray paint will not be able to get through to the foam to eat at the foam. So you can spray paint it. Now, also, I always recommend when I'm spray painting to get away from it. Maybe I'll do a standing tool at this point, because I feel like cosplayers and hobbyists might need a lesson, you know, since everybody's so used to using the airbrush where you got to be right on top of your project you're working on. But like, gee whiz, I've seen some atrocious spray painting go down in the name of toy collecting and toy hobby work, and it ain't good. It ain't good, kids. Not gonna lie to you. People complain, I don't like spray painting because I always get runs. Well, that just means you're too close. Or you've got the wrong kind of can, the wrong tip. There's a million things that it could be, but it's not the product. It's the person using it. Okay. And here, I'm just putting a bonus. What do we got? Oh, hey, Jess. We are still live. And we got Red says, Craniac gave me the wrong version of a head you ordered. Let them know. And they shipped me the correct one right away. And you got to keep... Oh, that is awesome, man. That's good customer service right there. But yeah, I've seen my hobby communities, and I think maybe... You know, not to toot my own horn, but I used to be a production spray painter for a major company. So I kind of know how to apply paint with force to an item. So maybe I do a tutorial on how to spray paint just for cosplayers, DIYers and stuff, because I've seen some really just absolutely horrific ways that people apply the paint and then wonder why the foam gets eaten, or wonder why there's runs in it, or wonder why it doesn't cure right and why half of it's still sticky and the other half isn't. Like, maybe that's something I'll do. Now you can be an absolute psychopath like me. Cat out in the hallway. Bless you. Gesundheit, kitty cat. You could be like an absolute maniac like me and spray paint outside in the cold in the winter, and then use your heat gun to cure the outer shell so you can bring it inside and then let it come up to temperature and cure. I don't recommend that. I actually don't recommend that. That is one of those cases where I often say, do as I say, not as I do. And that is a bad habit to get into and can be catastrophic if it's an important project and you're trying to rush it and you do that trick, you really got to know what you're doing and you really got to believe that it's going to work. Because I've had it not work before. My friend Chloe, I had done a cosplay prop for her that she had commissioned. I don't think she commissioned me for it. I think she had asked about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll make that for you, no problem. Just tell people who made it. Because sometimes I do that for my friends. Other times when my friends offer me money, I say, thank you for your money. I will make you this thing. And I will gladly do it for your human money that you worked hard for. But the last minute, I was like, let's get this last coating of spray paint on here. And the can got a block somewhere in it and started sputtering and just completely mucked up the paint job on the last go. I was getting ready to put it in front of the heater and then take it to her later that day once it had off-gassed, and I had to like scrub it down and sand it and respray it, and it just looked kind of like bunk, and I hated that. Now you might see some brush strokes in the on the ground here, and that's okay because this is going to get covered in wood planks, fake wood. I also considered for a hot minute doing foam, and we could like scribe the lines in and all that stuff, kind of like we did for the wood. But I feel like the wood will add a little something to this that doing it with foam wouldn't have. And I can always change my mind. Oftentimes I do, but I think in this case, I'm going to go with my gut and just do the wood sticks, the popsicle sticks, or the stir sticks for coffee, and make it into that hardwood flooring and make it look cool. And I think it will look cool. So, as I said, if there's brush strokes, it's going to be okay because it's going to get covered. And this is just another level of protection, and that'll be underneath it, because I do glue those strips down. And any of the eagle-eyed viewers that saw in the thumbnail that there is something that I've been building, I'll talk about that a little bit in my upcoming vlog, but it's basically a still that's going to go next to or be a part of the building. Haven't figured out how I'm going to attach it yet, but it's, that's how they make their booze. They got a tank shit out of the first floors in 818. Awesome. That is awesome, man. Cannot wait to see. And anybody who hasn't checked out Red's figure that he made, an avatar of your boy Famine over on the Instagrams, y'all should go check that out. Because I said so. See, this is how I know my Mod Podge is starting to get old, because some of the stuff that like sticks to the sides stays kind of gummy and then falls into the podge. I try to keep that out of there. I usually pick out the giant chunks of it, but I think it's about time to say goodbye to that container. And it's so close to being empty. There's probably like an inch left in the bottom. I could strain it out, because you know me, I don't like to waste money, but also I gotta wonder how great of a product that is at that point where it's like globbing up on itself. I mean, it's working for this purpose, so maybe I'll just turn that container, take the big chunks out and turn that container into a black magic sauce container. Who knows? And then this, once this cures, I'll let this Mod Podge cure overnight. Now, the Mod Podge can touch the handle, can dry to touch pretty quickly. If you read the back of Mod Podge, fascinating to me. I could use the container. It actually says dry. It recommends you dry 20 to 30 coats. You build up your finish, and you allow at least 5 coats in between every 20, 30 minutes. And then it talks about it takes 4 weeks to cure. That means it takes 4 weeks to off gas to its hardest setting. Now, I'm obviously don't have the patience for that, and I will let it cure, as long as I want to. But it will cure with the paint on it and everything. It'll just take much longer. But think about that. 4 weeks, it says on there, to cure. It's Mod Podge. 20 to 30 coats. No, it didn't say 20 to 30 coats. It says, did I read that? 20 to 30 minutes between coats. And it says apply 5 coats to build a build-up finish. And it says it's not an all-purpose sealer. Guess what? I use it as an all-purpose sealer. But yeah, it says build up 5 coats, 20 to 30 minutes in between each coat. You could do that. That's, I don't think I know anybody who's ever followed those instructions before, but you're absolutely able to if you want to. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you no. It's your Mod Podge. Do what you want. I mean, I would stop you if you were like, I'm going to eat this Mod Podge, fam, and I'm going to put it in my mouth hole. I'd be like, maybe don't. Maybe that's not where you want this. That's not what you want to do. We can arrange if you want something white in your mouth. There's ranch dressing and other things, but like not Mod Podge. Do not recommend. Anybody who is new to the channel, I don't always just sit here and paint Mod Podge on things. This is just a case of this is the next step in the project, and we are making some tremendous progress today. So let me just get you, see, we got that all on there. I'll come back through probably after the stream and just make sure I've gotten into some of these gaps. I see little spaces where, the brick had shifted when I depressed it, and so there's little overhangs to get some paint in there, but this bad boy is pretty much ready for the first coating of paint, which will be regular basic apple barrel craft paint. It'll just be a base coating to go over the Mod Podge and have that matte grip, because matte paint has a certain grit to it. It's part of the mattifying process to make it less reflective, and that will allow our paints that we dry brush onto it later to have good purchase, to have teeth, as it were. So I'm thinking I'm maybe leaning on Friday. Do we want to continue working on this, or do you guys want me to have a different thing to work on Friday? Leave me comments on the video if you're watching it during the week. Let me know. I'll take a look and we'll go from there. But I will be streaming Friday after World Makers Consortium, so you're looking at probably a 10:15 p.m. stream, and we'll go from there. Because I like to take a little time after WMC, rest my voice, have a cup of hot tea, rest my thrusy, as the kids say. Kids don't say that. Jesus Christ. Kids better not say that. But yeah, give my throat a rest, because I jabber a lot. I talk. He's a talker. That's why I don't think I'd ever be kidnapped, because they would send me right back, because I do not shut up. That, and they'd say some stupid stuff to me, like, put the hood on. And I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Just, no. You put it on. I'm not wearing that thing. It stinks. I don't know what happened in this. You put it on. Now, you could do 20 to 30 coats of aerosolized Mod Podge. I have rattle can Mod Podge. That is something I do have. I just, when I'm doing foam, I like to do it this way because there's no propellants in it. And that means that it won't eat through the material. Whereas if I sprayed, I think there's propellant in the aerosolized Mod Podge rattle cans. I'm just getting some more down in the wood grain here. Saw a couple of spots of pink that needed filling, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I think Friday, Friday we'll probably wind up starting painting this, at least getting a couple of base coats on here, base colors, do some dry brushing for the brickwork. You guys know me. I love to paint, so I'll be right in my wheelhouse. I'll be a happy baby. But this thing is coming together really, really well. This is going to be a great centerpiece for the docks here at Gimmick. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited. Boom. All right. There we have it, kids. We got a building that's got some primer on it, protective coating, so it's not going to get dinged up and scratched up, messed up, roughed up. So let me get you guys back on my beautiful face here. That was the worst thing I've ever done. I do apologize. So that never happens. Sorry. Sorry. Let's see here. Yeah, so I will go ahead and tip this towards the camera one more time. But now that it's black, so much of the detail is hidden, so all that dry brushing that we're going to do is going to make this pop. Then we're going to spackle the brickwork to add filling. It's going to be cool. But yeah, this is how I do this project. This is how I do protecting foam when I do dioramas. So try it out. Again, I learned it from watching Jeremy over at Black Magic Craft on his channel. He does tabletop gaming pieces. He's done a couple of dioramas. Just really cool stuff, really cool artist. He's got a game called Idols of Torment. It was successfully launched from a Kickstarter, and it's really cool. So go check him out. But I'm going to set this thing down to dry somewhere, preferably where there's no hamster critters that are going to get into it. By hamster critters, I mean my cat. But yeah, I'll give you guys a sneak peek of something. Hang on. I'm just going to put that there. And I will use these paper towels. Don't get it twisted. I'm not being wasteful. I'm just being smart because this is the biggest flat surface I have aside from my table here. So just give me one secondo. And we can take a second. We can talk about the still that I together. Here we go. So this right here. The still, not a real still. It is for my world. but it's just a sci-fi still that they fill up and then booze. It's part of their intricate space alcohol making system, so they can make multiple alcohols for the different species of people, the different patrons that they have there. But it's a Boundless Brooklyn water tower in small that I had from previous diorama that I repurposed. EVA foam, bubblegum container, more EVA foam, and a buzzball bottle. So, science fiction-y, yeah. But with that, I'm going to recommend you guys go to TeePublic, get some stickers, get some shirts. You go check out my wonderful girlfriend's her store, Next Gen Vanner, on there. She's got some very funny ones, also some retro car stuff, retro culture stuff. If you're into that, go check her stuff out, Next Gen Vanner. And she's got a shirt that says easily just that is my favorite thing, and she's done the design for quite a few of my shirts, so go check those out. Thank you to all of my patrons. Once again, you guys help keep the lights on. If you want to contribute to the channel, if you like what I'm doing, or you just want to see and keep up to date on things that are going on, some behind the scenes videos, some downloadable images that you can print out for your worlds, or I can have them printed out on sheets for you. You can absolutely check that out. It's patreon.com/FamineStudiosX right above. You can support me on Ko-Fi if you want to make a one-time donation, or you can use the super chat or super thanks. I appreciate it all. Helps the channel, helps keep things going, and it's always appreciated. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an excellent day. Share this video with a friend if you want, somebody who's into world building or, might appreciate it. Let them know I decorated for Halloween. See, I put a skeleton there. It's very spooky. But hope you guys have an excellent night. Be well. As always, you know what to do. I'm going to go wash my paws. Look at that. There you go. For those that like hands, be good, guys.